For over 20 years of my life, I was the exact opposite of the word consistent. I would get motivated and start reading a book, read it successfully for 2 or 3 days, before I eventually gave up on it and never picked it up again. I must have done this for at least 100 different books. Back in high school, I was also the kind of person that would not study for the entire school year and would only pick up his books just days before an exam out of sheer panic. Not being able to be consistent at anything in life leads to terrible outcomes. But that isn't who I am anymore. I am now someone who lifts weights at the gym, trains martial arts, reads books, works on his business, and I have been doing all these things consistently for over 5 years at this point. I got so consistent that people literally started asking me if I ever took a day off. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build the kind of consistency that will make people wonder if you're even human. So let's dive right into it. The single most powerful thing that you can do to be consistent at something is to start your day by doing that thing. If you're someone who has been skipping on reading, working out, studying, or whatever, place it as the first thing that needs to be done that day. There are 3 advantages of this. Firstly, you are going to start your day with a psychological win. Knowing that you have checked off an important activity off your to-do list this early on in the day is going to give you a lot of positive emotion. When you are in this positive state of mind, you are more likely to do more productive things throughout the rest of the day. The second advantage is that when you do something hard and productive, as soon as you wake up, you are setting up the bar for the day. You are telling your body that, hey buddy, if you want access to pleasure, then you have to do the hard work first. Only then will you be rewarded with dopamine. And this makes you almost embrace hard work for the rest of the day. On the other hand, if you start off your day with some form of instant gratification activity like scrolling, playing video games, eating sugary food, then your body gets the exact opposite message. The bar for effort drops significantly and you now have no desire to work hard for the rest of the day. The third advantage of starting your mornings with a productive activity is that this is the time of the day when you are psychologically in the best state of mind to perform a demanding task. Firstly, because you have no cognitive load, your mind is well rested and just fresh and ready to chip away at the hard task. Secondly, because you have not been exposed to distractions of the world. Hopefully you're not starting your day off checking notifications, your messages or your emails, because if you do that, you are going to have a very hard time focusing on things later in the day. Now I get it, some of you are working, some of you are in university or schools and can't just start your day off with doing the things that you want to do. What I had done back then when I was working full-time as a software engineer was that I went to bed 2 hours earlier than I would normally. And then I would wake up 2 hours earlier each morning. And as soon as I would wake up, those 2 extra hours were invested in myself for scripting, recording, and editing YouTube videos. And you can visit my channel and see that for the last 2 years, there almost never has been a week where I haven't posted something, despite the fact that I had been working a full-time job for the first 1 year of my YouTube journey. So consistency does come at a price, and the price could mean that you go to bed as early as 9 p.m. and miss out on a couple of social events. During my teenage years, my understanding of making progress at something was that you need to make earth-shattering effort at that thing. So whenever I would go to the gym, I would do each exercise with maximum weight to failure. And whenever I would read, I would try to read multiple chapters of a book in one sitting. But the problem with this approach was that, sure, you can go all out on some days when you're motivated and pumped. But the thing is, there are also going to be days when you are not motivated or pumped. And it was during those days I would just bail completely on these activities. The thought process I had was that, today I don't feel like giving my 100% to this activity, so I'm not going to do this activity at all. I would end up skipping that activity for that day, and before you know it, that off day breaks your momentum and it becomes even harder to start the activity the day after it. And this off day eventually turns into an off week, and now you're just starting from scratch all over again. Now my understanding of making progress is something quite different. I have come to realize that in order for me to make progress towards something, I don't necessarily have to make earth-shattering effort each time I do it. I now started valuing consistency over intensity. I'm no longer looking to become the master at my craft in just 2 sessions. I am now looking to become a master of my craft in the next 5 years. Now when I have those days when I'm just not really pumped or excited about doing the work, instead of completely giving up on that activity, I follow something called the 30% rule. I now do that activity with just 30% intensity. For example, if I was supposed to read 10 pages of a book today, but I just don't feel like it, I would make a deal with myself that, hey Jibreel, I understand that you're not in a mood to read 10 pages today, but do you think you can perhaps read just 3 pages? When the intensity of an activity is greatly lowered, you find that you are now much more likely to do it, even if you're having a bad day. By following the 30% rule, not only did I get a little better at that thing, but I also preserved the momentum of doing that thing consistently. This allows you to get right back at the activity with full force the very next day. When you're first starting off with an activity, maybe you're someone learning how to code, or perhaps you're trying to get into calisthenics, then know that the initial days are going to be the hardest. Mostly because you have never done those behaviors before and your body and mind are unfamiliar with them. This is why they can seem very energy demanding at the start. But the good news is, as you get your repetitions of doing these behaviors, your brain starts getting better at firing those circuits required for you to do that activity. And eventually that activity, which at first might seem very hard to initiate, all of a sudden seems like your second nature. So here's a protocol that I highly recommend you follow if you are starting a new activity that you would like to get consistent at. Get yourself a whiteboard or a sheet of paper and mark 30 days on it. Now, each day that you successfully show up and perform that activity, I want you to put a cross on that day. For the next 30 days, your target is to simply show up and perform that behavior. Your goal is not to set a world record in that thing. Your goal is not to become brilliant and impress your colleagues. The only metric that we are currently concerned about is the fact that you're showing up each day. We are building your identity for that thing by getting the repetitions in. Once you have your 30-day streak complete, that is when you can even begin to think about other metrics to actually get good at that thing. Here's a bit of a pro tip. When I wanted to get consistent at working out, I would show up to the gym even on my rest days. I would not train or anything. I would just do some light cycling, stretching, and then I would hit the sauna, just so that my habit of showing up to the gym was still maintained. If you're someone who lacks discipline, you procrastinate all the time, you're struggling to quit bad habits, and you're not just living up to your full potential, then make sure that you click on the link in the description and book a call with me. Perhaps I can help you transform your life the way that I've helped dozens of other men. One way to obtain effortless consistency towards anything is by making that behavior as easy to perform as possible. Let's imagine two people and both of them are newbies to the world of training. Both want to build good physiques. The first person, he goes to a gym that is very hi-fi. They got the best equipment, they got the best supplements, the best trainers. But the thing is, this gym is a 30-minute drive away from his home. This 30-minute drive now acts like a major psychological roadblock that he needs to get over each time he wants to go to the gym. And guess what? This causes him to be inconsistent. And when you are inconsistent, despite having all this fancy equipment and supplement, you are just not going to make a good physique. On the other hand, you have the second person. He goes to a very modest gym, not too fancy, just average equipment. But the thing is that this gym is just a 5-minute walk away from his house. Due to the absence of any friction, his habit of going to the gym does not require him to jump over mental roadblocks. And this is what allows him to consistently hit the gym. This person actually ends up making a good physique because the biggest advantage that he has is consistency. One of the biggest causes of friction is making decisions on the go. If you just wake up and you don't have a schedule or a routine, that technically means that at any moment of the day, anything could be done. This leads you to make decisions on the go. Decisions like, what do I do now? What do I do an hour from now? Should I work out before lunch or after lunch? Or maybe I should study first because I'm going to be tired after working out. All this thinking and decision making is so psychologically fatiguing and is just a massive cause of friction. On the other hand, if you just woke up and had a schedule with you, which you had designed last night, you had made all your decisions for today in advance, then all you would have to do is blindly follow that schedule. No more decision making on the go, no more friction. So if you're struggling to get consistent with a particular activity, I want you to sit down and firstly write down the exact time at which you would want to do that activity each day. And what are the 4 or 5 things you could do to remove any sort of friction between you and that activity? Perhaps you would like to get consistent at studying. Then make sure that you schedule that activity on your routine. Make sure that your desk is always clean. Make sure that before it's time for you to study, your notes are out. You already decided what exact chapter and subject you're going to be studying, so that when it's actually time for you to do the thing, there is nothing else that is going to demand energy from you. Here's the brutal truth. Consistency for productive things can only be built when you're not addicted to instant pleasure. So make sure that you watch this video to learn how to break free from bad habits without using motivation.